You're listening to the Richard Spasoff Show on Paranormal UK Radio Network.
From the dead of night, peering through the veil of darkness, the paranormal, spiritual, and comedic abound. Welcome to the Richard Spasoff Show.
The Richard Spasoff Show is brought to you by Audible. You can find us on our website at angelicmedium.org. Hello, everyone. I'd like to play for you a piece of music I wrote and composed. It's entitled Heaven's Transition. And what it means to me is when our body dies and our soul comes to life in the afterworld, in heaven. And this is how the piece sounds. I'd like to thank HCUniversalNetwork.com. Thank you, Christopher Jordan. You're also tuned in to tonight Paranormal UK Radio Network, a.k.a. PAUKRadio.com. I also like to give a big thank you to FringeRadioNetwork.com. That's FringeRadioNetwork.com. Thank you, Johnny. Also, Tom Donahue at TalkStream Live and Paranormal Radio.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment. The Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Hi, I'm Betty White. Keepers of the Wild is a nonprofit animal sanctuary that specializes in rescuing and caring for these wonderful creatures. The founder, Jonathan Kraft, and these wild animals have established a loving bond. To watch them interact is fascinating, and it's an experience you'll never forget. The staff and volunteers have dedicated their lives to give these animals a new start and a home where they can live out their lives in dignity. They also provide the community and children with an educational program where you can learn and help preserve our precious wildlife and the environment that we must all share. So listen to the call of the wild and support Keepers of the Wild, a truly fine organization.
You could find their website at keepersofthewild.org. Hello.
Well, we had 5 people, me and my wife, and then 3 house guests, and I'm surprised it went like swimmingly well.
Well, you've been hanging out in the graveyards and everywhere else. I mean,
yeah, I had planned out a lot of adventures for them. They loved it. It was a wonderful weekend. It was sad to see them go. Even though I love my job, I didn't want to go back to work. I just wanted to keep doing the paranormal stuff. But 5 people, 1 bathroom. We only had to have 2 emergency yard peas. So, went really well. So,
well, congratulations on that.
Well, thank you.
It's a big step towards mankind and the paranormal.
Right.
Yeah, sure. Get out of here. No, I'm just kidding. Not you, me. I don't know what I'm doing.
I think our resident energy might have been a little bit miffed if, we would have, if there would have been a hiccup with bathroom issues, going to the bathroom in other areas than the bathroom in the house.
Your resident energy. This sounds interesting. Male, female.
It is a male, and my wife and I actually, here's a nutshell version because we already had a show about this, but it was the former owner of the house, and he was actually killed in a car accident on his way to Omaha to go get a new car, and suffered traumatic brain injuries, was life-flighted back to Lincoln, and passed away within the month. And the kids didn't want the house, so it ended up going into foreclosure. And when my wife moved in, she wasn't fond of the activity that was going on. So we researched it, found out who it was, and we conversed with some of the family members, and we addressed the energy in the house, and the activities like exponentially went down, but we know that the energy's name is Kenneth, and he still likes to play with our dogs.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, it's every once in a while we'll get, especially the one, our Golden Doodle Presley. She and Kenneth will go tat for tat sometimes. So
now Kenneth is a grandfather, right?
Yeah, the most communication we had was with Kenneth's grandson, and apparently they were pretty close, and the grandson told us that Kenneth was a jokester, and so it solidified my theory that that's all it was. The activity was more of along the lines of orneriness and joking.
Why is he not in the house, though? I mean, he died in a car accident. Why doesn't he move on?
Honestly, I think he liked the house. I cannot definitively answer that question, but it's one of those things. He lived here alone. It was the last home he owned before he passed away, and possibly maybe he just really liked the house. I've never directly seen an apparition. I've never, in my time of doing this, I've actually never had a visual manifestation in front of me. I've had auditory, I've had olfactory, I've had physical interaction, so I've had tactile manifestations, but I've never had a visual manifestation. So,
and your wife too, right? Your wife as well.
She has had experiences numerous times, and some of our guests Actually, some of the North Star people had told me that the two ladies who slept in the basement said that they experienced a few things that they weren't expecting. Yeah, so my only thought is, like, and I follow the rule, it's the general unspoken rule that you're not supposed to investigate your own living quarters, you know. And my wife doesn't really want me to. She's fairly adamant about that. Doesn't really want me to. She says, don't frickin' do it.
Being nice, and he's not harming anything, then, I guess it's all the fun.
And my wife, addressed him and said, we know you're here. We don't mind sharing our space with you. She said, but we'd appreciate it if we didn't have the reminders near constant. And
well, what happens when you take a shower? Or you and your wife get intimate? Is he watching?
I would really hope that, he would have enough tact not to bother that, because that's really creepy. So, I mean, it's already bad enough when I'm, taking a shower in the morning and washing my hair and I have my eyes closed and I get a cold dog nose, in the cheeks.
Yeah,
so.
Now, Gizella, could you move a little bit closer to the mic? You're coming in good, but I'd like you to get a little bit better if you can, closer to the phone, I mean.
Okay, I'm trying to the best I can. I mean, this is a cordless phone, so it is what it is.
Okay. We're getting you. Just sometimes we hear static. It's funny.
It's a ghost.
It's a ghost. I was just getting ready to call you guys, and I heard in my house somebody saying hello, and I said hi. I heard him say hello. I said hi. It turned out to be the TV. I'm serious. It was a scary movie. I don't know why they started it off like that.
They knew what you were doing.
I've been caught doing that with people with Bluetooth earpieces, and I was walking around my old neighborhood, and there was a guy out watering his lawn, and he literally was like, "Hey, how you doing?" And I stopped, and he said, "I'm good. How are you?" And we carried on a conversation for about a minute, and he finally stopped, and he put his finger up to his ear, and he says, "I'm going to call you back. I have some jackass talking to me on the sidewalk here while I'm trying to have a conversation with you." And I'm going, oh, do I feel sheepish now? I had no idea I had the Bluetooth earpiece in, and I was just sitting there conversing. I thought the guy was lonely, wanted to talk.
You never know.
Now,
have you ever used, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, Gizella. I like the way it's going. Go ahead.
I was going to ask Jason if he ever used one of those devices where he can tune in to hear them. Because, some of the paranormal experience I've noticed or whatever, they have. And they have these little devices that the spirits talk to them through. They say hello, they give them their names, things like that. Have you ever tried one of those? I
have. Personally, when I do the EVP recordings, which is EVP is electronic voice phenomenon, I do it a kind of an unconventional way. I do it where I don't really do EVP sessions, is what they refer to them as, and that's when you sit down and you have your device, whether it's just a micro recorder, an SB7 or an SB11, one of those. Some of them are called Ghost Box, but people sit down and ask questions, and then replay it later on to see if they got any responses and the questions that were asked. And so a lot of times the way I do it, I have, I believe, 3 micro recorders. I think I used to have more, but so they get battered and broke over the years. I will set them up in different parts of the house. And I'll try to set them up about as far from each other as I can. So, if I have 3, I will have one in the attic on the very south end, one on the main floor on the very north end, and then one in the cellar on the very south end. So they're about as polar opposite as they can be, on each floor. And I just let them run the whole time I'm on location. Now, if I'm on location for 12 hours, that's what, 12, 24, 36 hours worth of audio that I have to deal with. And just listen. A lot of times it's just dead air that you're listening to, just to catch one chair going across the floor.
Are you pretty good though? Are you pretty patient with going through the whole thing? And
a lot of times, what I'll do is I'll hook it up in the car, because I drive so much for my job. I do so much in-town driving, and especially right now with the COVID, we're not supposed to take our clients into stores or anything, so we drive all day and go through parks, drive around the lakes and stuff. So I'll, you plug it in and let the guys listen too, and a lot of my clients love this stuff. They're very, very much into it, and so I've got clients who do the review for me, and they're like, "Oh, that didn't sound right." Rewind it, let's hear that again. And so, now personally, like I said, I don't use the SB7, the SB11, the Ghost Box, or any of those. And those are the ones where you get the white noise. You have radio waves that come through on those, and you can speed up or slow down the radio waves. And actually, some of them where you can play the radio waves forwards and backwards as if it was like tuning. So
do you ever hear voices actually talking, or do you hear just noises? I've seen some places like on YouTube and whatnot. I live in Temecula, Old Town. They've done it many times to the Palomar Hotel because that's supposed to be extremely haunted. And they'll have voices coming through that's saying, all your strength, I'm here, things like that. And they see little orbs floating around.
Now, orbs, I don't think we want to get started on orbs. But
go ahead.
They say, is this an orb or is it a dust particle? And, they'll swear it's an orb, and then they'll hear a voice saying, all your strength, things like that. I mean, one person actually said they saw a Confederate soldier going up the stairs in this Palomar Hotel.
Okay.
And also, it's like this woman sometimes will be going up the stairs telling you to go away. And people have said they've actually seen this.
Wow.
Yeah, only have to be told one time to go away. I'll leave.
Right.
Well, I've actually myself experienced, this is also in Old Town. It was called the Shire at one time. That's when I was there. But it's a store. Right now it's a restaurant. But, years past it used to be a barn, and it was a bar. There was all kinds of things, because Temecula was old. But apparently a little boy had got kicked by a horse and died when it was a barn. So he haunts this space. And my daughter was working at it one year, and it was Christmas time. And, I've always agreed with her because you'd go back in the back of the store, and the temperature would shift immediately. You could just feel it, how cold it got. But she said every morning when they would get back to the store, the Christmas ornaments would be moved from where they left them. And they'd move it back, and the next day it would be the same thing. It's like he didn't like where they placed the Christmas ornaments, so he moved them to where he wanted them to go.
And that's actually like common activity. I've done antique stores, and it's so funny that like people get so hung up on attachments. I went to this location. I brought an attachment with me, and I talk about Villisca a lot because I've frequented there so much. And I say, it's so funny that people say they brought home something from a location. Villisca, there was, 8 people were murdered at Villisca. Okay.
Wow.
And it was on the. It's a fascinating cold case to read about. It's very sad. It's actually very heartbreaking. It is a cold case from 1912. It has not been solved. There are theories that are dead set that probably, would solve it, but without DNA and all that, and exhuming bodies, whatever, you can't really make the accusation. And so, but if you take those 8 energies and then the possible 2 killers, so you got 10 energies in the house, right?
Yeah.
And so here's my thing, that there's just the day visits alone. You're talking about thousands of people through that house in a year. You add in the overnight visits, we're talking several thousand people within a year. If all the people who said they brought home an attachment from that house, there are 10 energies. I do get the theory that, an energy can transport itself, but it cannot exist in 2 places simultaneously. So there's a theory that cemeteries are less haunted, but sometimes the energy will go back to a cemetery, say their family is there, and they want to see the family, so they will manifest at the cemetery where they're buried to see the family, not as a haunting, but almost as a residual energy just to see the family. So my thing is that you're less likely to get an attachment at a location. You're more likely to get an attachment and bring it home shopping at flea markets, antique stores, secondhand stores, stuff like that. Because people do get attached to physical items. Grandma's music box, grandpa's cigar case, stuff like that. And so you get these older items, bring them home. And I've done investigations at antique shops. And it's so funny that a big report in this activity is when people say, well, I set this up every night before I come home, and when I come back in, it's moved and it's rearranged, or this is over there, and it happens every night. I come in the morning and it's rearranged the same way. And it's kind of well, those energies don't like the way you arranged it.
Yeah,
they
exactly.
want it their way,
Evidently he didn't like where they put the Christmas ornaments, so he moved them.
Right.
Every day. And they moved them back, and every day he moved them again.
Yeah, and I think that's just, it's just one of those things. It's nothing evil, nothing bad, nothing. It's almost like a little OCD ghost, stop moving my ornaments.
There you go. Also, those reports of food disappearing. The food is being eaten in the restaurants there, and toilet paper disappears, and all kinds of stuff. Old Town Temecula, it's haunted in many places, but the most haunted one is the Palomar Hotel, which is right at the corner when you go in to Old Town Temecula, and it's old. It's a couple 100 years old, and they updated it a little bit, but not very much. They still have the antique phone there and whatnot, and so ghosts like to hang around there.
Speaking of ghosts, I wondered in in La Jolla, we have the Comedy Store that's been there. Oh, geez, I don't know for how long, but many, many years. Building is very old. I just wonder how many celebrity ghosts hang out there still.
I wonder.
I know.
That's actually a really good thought, because didn't a lot of celebrities get their start at the Comedy Store?
Correct. Yes. But remember, there's one in Hollywood, and there's one in San Diego. I was referring to the one in San Diego. I've been in there, and I felt some.
Oh yeah, right.
Yeah, exactly.
I've been in there too. I've been in there.
What do you feel about that one?
want to call it, I kind of agree with you because it was a little uncomfortable. It made me feel uneasy. And, there was no reason to feel that way. So I could attest that to there being some entities floating around there,
Yes.
watching or whatever, and they weren't, I guess maybe they weren't too happy about what was going on. They've changed it a lot, I'm sure. So, you could just feel the uncomfortableness in there, the tension, the uneasy. They're probably like, you said, old performers who got their start there, and they're just going back to reminisce or maybe, complain to each other, criticize the people who are on there, and we did it better. Who knows?
Don't you think they have a better place to go, like La Costa Resort, and dance?
Well, maybe that's their first love is comedy.
Jeez.
So,
We don't know, Jason.
we don't know, right?
And, Gizella, you said that you get an uneasy feeling and nervous feeling, and you don't know why because there's no reason to have that.
Right.
It's so funny how many times one of my main missions with Heartland is to lessen fear in the field. And it's amazing how many people are afraid simply from the idea or concept that there's a ghost or an energy in their bubble. Just the idea of it. And I think Hollywood's put that there because Richard and I have talked about this before. What Hollywood sells, it's what's going to sell is something evil, something demonic, something possessed.
Yeah.
They've done Casper once. A movie about a ghost that does your dishes is not going to sell, and so
Casper sold.
Casper sold.
Yeah, Casper sold.
It did sell, but the thing is that there's not a lot of variations on that side where you can get it to sell again.
No,
it's yeah, and so you come home and your vacuum is miraculously just moving about the house, and it's not a Roomba. Your house is being cleaned by an entity. That would be wonderful to have. I'd love that to take.
Would be, wouldn't it?
Well, guys,
Yeah,
wait a minute, guys. I know it could continue on, but how much do you think Casper is worth, money-wise?
A lot, I'm sure.
Take a guess. Take a guess, guys.
Oh, I'd say in the millions.
Okay. 520 million.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's how. That's.
I mean, he had cartoons, and he had, some movies, and then they did the spin-off with Wendy the Good Witch, his...
Right. I was just going to mention her, and he's been around since, the 50s?
Oh, easy, yeah. He never changed his appearance, though. He's always looked the same, the big bubble head, big eyes, and no feet, just little tail.
Cute.
Yeah. He was a cutie. He really was.
He was cute, yeah. That's why the kids loved him,
But even look at if we're along those lines, you look at Scooby-Doo.
Yeah.
Scooby-Doo was not all that innocent, and really look at Scooby-Doo. They taught us that the real monsters weren't the ghosts and the goblins and the ghoulies. They were people.
Yeah, that's true. It's very true. And,
but there was a little bit dark side to Scooby-Doo, kind of,
Oh, yeah. Well, nobody should be afraid of ghosts because they're not here to hurt anybody. They're,
Right.
I guess you could say they're here because they don't want to leave the earth,
I agree. And I've said this, countless times. I do not discount the fact that there would be demonic entities here, that there would be evil, malevolent forces
For
here.
sure, yes.
and they live in my son.
No. Yes, but
I'm just saying that there are certain groups and certain people out there that exaggerate the numbers of that one way higher than it actually is, and the fear is emphasized far too much.
Yeah. Well, most people are scared of the unknown, you know, and if you tell them there's a ghost, they just get, boom, immediately. Many people get unnerved and they get scared because they don't know.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, and some people, informed people will say, oh, cool, let's go and find out what they want. I don't know if you ever saw Ghost Whisperer. That was a show that was on TV.
I remember it. I never watched it, but I remember it.
Yeah, well, she was in the contention that the ghosts aren't here to hurt anybody. They need to communicate because there's something they need help with that they didn't finish in their life, and now they're in the afterlife, and they want these people to help them, and they're not there to hurt you. And then they had some shows where the ghosts wanted to stay because they just enjoyed being on the earth, you know.
Right. Right, and we'll never know all the answers until we're on their side, you know. But
well, that won't be long, guys. I'm planning on going pretty soon, so.
Oh, well, I hope not. I really hope not. But I'll tell you that 95% of the fun is the journey and the search, and that's the adventure is trying to find this out. And it's funny because you would never know that I would have ever become a field researcher and a paranormal investigator. When I was a kid, I was so terrified of my parents' basement. My mom and dad said that and my dad would always, he was like, hey, can you go down to my shop and get this? And I would go down, and he'd wait for me to get down there and then turn the light on the stairs off, because he knew that when I turn off the light of his shop, it would be pitch black down there, and I'd come tearing up them stairs. And they swore I was the only kid talented enough to fall up the stairs because they hear clunk, 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 because I would miss stairs. I read on stuff, and I remember, like, my Sunday school mates will tell you that, like, by the time I was in about 5th, 6th grade, I was searching the church for spirits and things that were lingering on. And the first time I had physical interaction, like noticeable, conceivable physical interaction, I wasn't afraid. It was exhilarating. It was like, oh my goodness, like, if this is the energy I know it is, I'm being touched from somebody who lived 100 years ago.
Oh, at least, yeah.
I was like elated. Wow.
I didn't know how far you travel with your investigations, but there are plenty of haunted hotels in Denver. I used to live there. And also a restaurant. I actually saw an apparition, a woman, in the restaurant. I sing karaoke, and we were singing there, and I was sitting in a booth. Wait.
Let's do this for the beginning of the next show. Hold on for a minute. Hold on, because we want people to stay tuned. Thank you guys for being here tonight. You've been listening to the Richard Spasoff Show with our guests, Gizella Furtha and Jason Faust. Thank you guys, and God bless everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're also tuned in to tonight Paranormal UK Radio Network, a.k.a. PAUKradio.com.
Thank you for listening to this episode of The Richard Spasoff Show. For more episodes and information, join us online at psychicmediumspasoffshow.com or catch the show on Spreaker, iHeartRadio, iTunes, Stitcher, or your favorite podcast service. The Richard Spasoff Show is a proud member of the HC Universal Network family of podcasts. For more great content and shows, visit hcuniversalnetwork.com or download our free HC Universal Network podcast app from your favorite device market. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. And until next time, keep watch on the darkness.